Hello everyone and welcome to game number 3 in our best of 3 semifinal between Pbhead and Gameslayer. Game number 1 going to Gameslayer. Pretty easily, Pbhead kind of just knocking himself out of the game. Game number 2. Gameslayer gets mutinied on HQ level 2 for his aluminum and can never pull the game back from there. Pbhead just kind of walks over to victory in that one. This game, we've got a bit more of an interesting map. Carbon is actually available here. So you could potentially found scavenger, something we don't see all that often. And Gameslayer is going to once again be first to found. He is going to drop scientific near the silicon and iron tiles. He really has access to pretty much everything right here. The water is separate from his base, aluminum not very far away, but all of it very usable. Even a little carbon in a couple of different places nearby if he happened to want it late into the game. That said, Pbhead is going to found scavenger just on top of most of that carbon. Takes 2 medium tiles as the 2 tiles he wants to rely on this game, and just goes for an almost immediate upgrade to HQ level 2. So he's going to have access to 2 carbon tiles, 2 aluminum tiles, a high water tile, and then he's got a couple more. It looks like it's going to be a 3rd carbon, and he's going to have to decide what to do with that last tile. I honestly wouldn't be too surprised if it landed right here. That would be hilarious to me. That doesn't look like what it's actually going to do. I would have been tickled if that had happened. Where did it go? On a geotherm? Look, we'll figure it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He should have one more because of founding second. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. It's fine. Gameslayer does manage to take the silicon next to him. Kind of an important tile to secure, in my opinion, if you want some adjacency bonuses and adjacency to his headquarters later into the game. He is also going to grab 2 aluminum this time. Going to probably be looking to exploit solar panels on those later into the game, which this silicon will, of course, help him with. And then he is going to be relying on that steel price, carrying him through to HQ level 2 while we wait. Yes, it was a geotherm out of Pbhead. I thought that's what it might have been when I couldn't find it easily. There it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at this colony. Look at these office modules. Look at these. They're new. They're pretty. They're different. They're at least a lot better than they used to be. And those are going to be consuming altogether 0.8 power and then 0.2 glass per second. So power looking to go a little bit more ridiculous this game. Pbhead going to be putting a stop to that early with this very, very quick geotherm that he has planted down. Pirates have already landed this game. Gameslayer going to be the one to throw them down. Trying to intercept Pbhead's water specifically. Hasn't gotten lucky with those steals just yet. And of course, each of those shipments that gets through is going to make the next one less valuable. So that's not really what Gameslayer's after. Very, very poor luck in the Pirates. That is something that happens when you roll Pirates. Sometimes you just flip a coin, and you flip a coin, and you flip a coin, and you flip a coin, and it just never comes up. And let me tell you, as someone who's been playing XCOM too much lately, I have no sympathy. Because at least your soldiers aren't getting shot in the face and dying. Solar panels do come down for Gameslayer. No big surprise there. Also going to go ahead and make a move into some glass. I like these decisions. I think they'll work out reasonably well for Gameslayer. Unfortunately, his solar panels are not going to be functional today. Not really what he was after, but something he should be able to survive without too much trouble. And these glass furnaces will be a nice boost for him. Not having to pay silicon prices on them will allow him to upgrade very, very easily without too much trouble, as long as he just maintains enough cash on hand that he can keep pulling in that oxygen he's going to require. Gameslayer also decided to go ahead and mutiny away Pbhead's geothermal plant. Knew for a fact that that was not defended, as no goon squads have been purchased yet this game, and so he is going to make sure to try and grab up what power he can. Pbhead will have wind turbines coming online in just a moment here, which means that even though he's leaking power now, that is going to stop momentarily. You can see he's running a significant surplus with those 2 wind turbines online. 2.7 power from those. Wind turbines were, of course, buffed very, very recently. So he is going to be running at about a 4 power surplus when he gets that back. This cold fusion auction, though, makes all of that just a little more awkward. 16,000. All right. 18. Yep. Placing a lot of value on this. A lot of value on this cold fusion, which I think is semi-reasonable. Obviously, there's a lot of power online on this map already, and so now you can see that price just tanking instantly. Thing is, it still probably was worth it, and then long term you're also just protected in case of awkwardness, right? Which is always nice. I am a little concerned about Pbhead here, I gotta say, because he's committed 3 whole tiles to power. And because of the way the game has played out at this stage, power long term is unlikely to be a significantly impactful resource. It's probably not going to make him money in a serious quantity, right? It might make him some, not a huge amount. And then he's going to be stuck on 3 tiles that he really can't do anything else with. These wind turbines can't be transitioned effectively into anything else. They're so far away from his base, especially with pirates this match. It's just odd. It's just difficult. It's just weird. Not really a situation you want to be in. You don't want to use any of those words to describe what you're having to do to win. Right? Not what you're looking for. Pbhead did attempt to move into electrolysis reactors. Definitely a move I like with this lower power price. Electrolysis has easier to get into most of the time than food, as it does not have that glass price attached to it. And with that low power price, you're kind of avoiding the weakness of the electrolysis reactor, which is its massive amount of power consumption. Alright, let's see what Pbhead is paying off with all that power. He's making $100 from power, 94, 88, so on, and you get the point, right, guys? It's just like... And with a total change because of that fuel that he is consuming from these tiles positioned away from his base. Look at this other wind turbine here. It's just doing nothing. It's literally at $1. It's doing $1. That's not what you're after. This is effectively 5 dead tiles that Pbhead is operating on right now. Let's count Gameslayer's dead tiles. I see 2. Maybe 3 with this aluminum, right? 3 with this aluminum. But the aluminum isn't even completely dead. Now, Gameslayer, let's see, does also steal away some of Pbhead's water. I definitely like this decision. Water is valuable. Forcing Pbhead to buy up water is definitely a nice thing to do. Pbhead is not making enough water to cover his electrolysis reactors once they come online. Not even making enough water with 1 online. Definitely an awkward position to be in.
16.
What? What? What's happening right now? A hacker array? A hacker array? Really? There's a hacker array there. What in the world is that? It's defended for a minute. That's enough time to get off a full shortage at this point. That shortage seems to take 50 seconds now. What is happening? I did look at the new notes. You want to know what the notes said when I looked at them? Something something now has legs. And I was like, that is the least helpful patch in the entire world. That's literally what they said when I looked at them. I didn't mention anything about this nonsense right here. So Gameslayer has a hacker array.
The black market is online.
That was probably worth way more than what he paid for it, let me tell you. Immediately goes into a glass shortage, which is of course a reasonable decision. A reasonable decision. Pbhead is in glass. At this point, I do believe he has positioned a spy on top of that hacker array, so he kind of knew this was happening. But there's not a whole lot he can realistically do about it. Gameslayer does have those 3 glass furnaces down, and will be looking to take a better advantage here. Of course, now everything is swapped around. Everything's just looking awkward. Gameslayer actually sells out of the glass before the shortage hits, possibly trying to abuse the steel shortage in the first place. And now the shortage might help out Pbhead a little bit more than Gameslayer at this point. That said, Gameslayer is sitting on $80,000 at this stage, is moving into a food shortage, which he definitely has a slight advantage in food, especially considering this water price is kind of making Pbhead's farms a little bit less desirable.
The black market is online.
And I think Gameslayer is going to be the one to take this one. I don't know if the hacker array really absolutely was necessary, but man, it probably would have secured the victory if Gameslayer needed it. Already going to manage to secure 4 of Pbhead's stock. Pbhead is going to need to only get 2 of his own. I don't think he's going to manage to do it, though. At $20,000 now, he is pulling in some cash. It's like possibly some of it off water, but not a whole lot at this point for Pbhead. Pulling in 3 water a second, losing pretty much everywhere else. This dust storm also getting in the way of food production. He has to turn that off. His electrolysis is off. I have no idea why at this stage of the game. It would still be pulling in some money. Superconductor going to do literally nothing this game. Powers at $1, guys. $1. Like, seriously, powers at $1. Gameslayer's farm's also losing money. It is important to remember that these are not on top of water. None of his stuff on top of water this game. Elects not to do that. So it pretty much just comes down to this water income, which Gameslayer does have most of at this point. 3 water coming in for Gameslayer after all is said and done with his consumption. -3 for Pbhead, but Pbhead does defend himself. He gets there. He's at the 5. He's at the 5, so we do have a game going on at this point. Interestingly enough, chooses to freeze out Pbhead's food plus carbon. That feels like a poor decision, is what I'm going to say. Because the food isn't making any money with this dust storm going on right now. It will fade for too long, but it's still not making any money now. And carbon's completely unnecessary when carbon's down at $5. Both players have managed to work themselves into D levels of debt. Gameslayer taking some of his money back from Pbhead, likely looking to move into an off-world market.
Our hackers have compromised the trading.
And there we do see it, actually. 33% of the way done. Steel shortage coming in. That's going to rocket steel's price to pretty ridiculous levels. Pbhead, of course, has no steel production online. Carbon's gotten a bit expensive over here, hasn't it? A lot of transitioning been happening in this area. It looks like Pbhead choosing to move more into farms in the wake of the dust storm makes perfectly good sense. Dust storms raise the price of food by not allowing you to make it. So after the dust storm, you almost always want to have farms down. So no real big surprise that Pbhead went ahead and made that decision. Both players also moving to some degree into electronics, considering this off-world market came down, a very reasonable decision. Always raises the price of electronics very effectively, does the off-world market. Now, neither player can interact with this off-world market from a black market perspective. No mutinies, slowdown strikes, goon squads, or power surges available to target this thing, which is a little bit unfortunate for both of them. Gameslayer would like to have a goon squad down, but of course, it's worth noting the fact that Pbhead is in such a deep hole when it comes to debt that is it really necessary? Probably not. Is Gameslayer going to put it down? Probably. It costs literally $3,000. Never mind. Gameslayer doesn't care. He knows. That's not the kind of player that Gameslayer is at the end of the day. He says, all right, I would like to just have your things. Can I have your things? Thank you. Now, Pbhead already so deep in debt, he probably is sitting here thinking, well, is 10,000 really going to make that much of a difference? I don't think so. So he takes the nuke. That is almost certainly going to land on the medium water tile of Gameslayer. There it goes. No real surprise there. Down to a trace level. Pretty effective against even scientific water when water is the thing up at $240 price this game. Insane. Oh, guys, there's an electronic shortage coming in about 40 seconds off that auctioned hacker array.
Offworld shipment launch.
Whatever.
Look at all the money.
So we are going to see Gameslayer moving further into Pbhead stock. I don't know if Pbhead is going to be able to do anything about this. Without access to the black market, you've lost that big scavenger advantage that you might have had this game in combating the off-world market with slowdown strikes, mutinies, and power surges. And so instead, Pbhead just kind of stuck. Once again, he can't really maneuver all that well. He just doesn't seem to be making very much money. And he cannot defend his water tiles from these consistent mutinies from Gameslayer. The underground nuke was nice, kind of knocking down some of Gameslayer's water, but it's really just delaying the inevitable here. Gameslayer only needing about $10,000 more to clean this game up. I imagine that what's going to happen is this food launch is going to end up going off. And then Gameslayer will very, very easily finish his buy onto Pbhead. Gameslayer's not going to blink about Pbhead getting aggressive here. He's not going to do anything silly. He is just going to take the game and the series in the wake of that Offworld launch. Man, I think, honestly, the single biggest factor in that game, like the hacker rate auction was weird. Gameslayer happy to be in a final. He will enjoy losing to Pbhead or Blues there, I imagine. Just kidding, Gameslayer. Just kidding. But you should practice if you want to have a shot. The biggest factor, I think, for that game was these dead tiles for Pbhead. Just very, very awkward situation to have to deal with. And it just didn't do anything for him long term. Like, there were... all these tiles were just so weak. And that kind of combined with the high fuel price and having to ship in water and like not being able to make fuel. Because 6 dead tiles. Look at this. 6 dead tiles this game. Sorry. 6 dead tiles this game. 6. I can't get over that. Because look how many tiles aren't dead, right? 1, maybe this tile isn't dead. It kind of is. It had a shot at doing something, so we're going to count it as active. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I think. So 1/3 of his tiles. He's at 1/3 of his value. New patch notes. I'll have to go and investigate that in just a moment here. Hoping to win off power early, it clearly didn't work out. No, it did not. Did not work out. I think Gameslayer, like the thing that kept Pbhead from winning off power early, you could blame Cold Fusion a little bit, but I don't think it was super impactful. I think the biggest thing was honestly just Gameslayer being competent enough to move into 2 solar panels this game, using one of his old aluminum tiles and just getting some adjacency going with it after having collected that silicon. Like, that move alone, even without Cold Fusion, I'm pretty sure locks Pbhead out of a power victory early. So it was maybe a bit too much of a gamble to go for it, and then just left him too far behind as we move through the game with all these other disadvantages of the distance from his base to everything else, the awkward found location that creates kind of a weird situation trying to get tiles put together in there. Pbhead worked with that reasonably well, but it was still an awkward situation to be in. And so after that, Gameslayer just kind of blasts on through with, man, I have mutinies and you're in D levels of debt. Doesn't that suck? And cleans up the game. And yeah, the other big deal, it is worth noting, was that mutiny onto the geotherm here. It's like going for a power play and not defending your geotherm and not being able to do anything about it really is a big problem. Is a big problem. Yeah, that 50% black market resistance, it's pretty darn good as it turns out. All right. Oh, I saw that, Gameslayer. It seemed pretty reasonable, in my opinion. Like, those mutinies were just such a huge deal this game. If that nuke had shown up earlier, maybe, you know, but who knows. Okay, guys.